What are your numbers like today?
We have 33 kids today.
Okay, how many you had in court?
One out so far. We had big
My name is Hasan Davis. I live in Berea, Kentucky.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, yourself?
Pretty good.
Good, good. How y'all doing today?
Young people are a real special focus of mine. The work that I have done my whole adult life is working with high-risk youth.
And so what I want you to understand is that this is your opportunity to figure out how you move forward, or you give us permission to keep holding you back, because we're good at that, right? You know.
I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. I started in a pretty stable family that by the time I was 6 started to disintegrate. My sister and I walked in on my father, straddled my mom on the couch, choking her, his hands around her neck, and things fell apart. Police came and took him away in handcuffs. Shortly after that, they separated, then divorced. My mother worked several jobs, and we began to go on and off the food stamp rolls, you know. And so life got a bit of a challenge then. In my early life, was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia fairly young. In kindergarten, they started locking me in the code room because I was one of those kids that was never going to be anybody. And I bounced around from school to school, had 5 different elementary schools over my elementary career. We moved from St. Louis to Atlanta after my 3rd grade year. And after an arrest at 11 years old and moving further into delinquency, my mother enrolled me in an alternative school. And it was a very unique school. There were kids like me who struggled and had lots of challenges, and then there were gifted and talented kids who struggled and had lots of challenges because they weren't being challenged enough in other schools too. But the administrator of this school was the most unique piece, Dr. Lorraine Wilson. She called me to her office one day, and it was one of those moments for me that was kind of usual. You know, you come to the office and you get I'm just waiting for you to screw up so I can kick you out of here. And I'm always like, well, we could probably get that done by lunchtime and get everybody back on schedule because I know the routine. So I sat there and she said, you know, I know who you are. And I think you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, and all you can do is prove me wrong. And I sat there for a second. So I said, you know I'm Hasan, right? And she said, I know who you are, Hasan, and I think you can accomplish anything you set your mind to, and all you can do is make me a fool for believing such a thing. And for the first time in my educational career, someone told me that I was already great and dared me to give up great for something less than that. My mother did the same thing when she picked me up from the police station at 11 and told me that if I could just see what she saw, then I would know. And so the two of them together kind of gave me this counter image of myself as a backdrop to whatever the rest of the world was giving me, as a monster, as a thug, as stupid, as useless, as all of these labels that had kind of built up. Full disclosure, I got expelled from that school. But because Dr. Lorraine Wilson and my mother, Alice Lovelace, continued to paint this really broad vision of who I could be, and dared me to reach for it. After I got expelled, I said, you know, I'm going to get my GED. And then after I got my GED, I said, you know what? I can do college. You know, with a 1.67 GPA and ADHD and dyslexia and expulsion from alternative school. But Dr. Lorraine Wilson and my mama, Alice Lovelace, said that I could do it. And so who am I to turn down that kind of courage? And so it gave me the courage to seek out a place called Berea College here in Kentucky. I got accepted into Berea and decided that it was time to try something different. I came to Kentucky sight unseen. I'd never been here, never been to a small town like that. And so all of my greatest fears were riding with me. I spent my whole first year feeling like an imposter, feeling like eventually somebody was going to notice that I wasn't supposed to be there and call the college police and report me. You know, I was in remedial English and math the entire first year of college. I felt like I was completely unprepared, but I was there. Truth is, and I like to be very honest, I got expelled from Berea twice. That's a really difficult thing sometimes, I think, for young people. But for me, there wasn't a plan B. There was not a go back home and hit the streets, and because I knew what the outcome would be from that. You know, and truth is, my brothers Derek and Sean are both doing life sentences now. And as often as I've thought about how good it would have been for me to be there, maybe I could have changed it, the reality is, more likely than not, I would be with them or I would be dead like my 5 cousins. And I went back to Berea and actually graduated from Berea after my 3rd time back. And when I graduated, I was president of the student body. I was homecoming king. I was voted unanimously by the vice presidents to go to D.C. and lobby Congress for work-study college funding. And as I stood up at graduation to give the opening welcome and prayer, my mother was walking down the aisle of the auditorium to take her seat. And in that moment, I finally saw the man she'd been looking at since she picked me up from the police station, where she told me that I was great and that if I could finally see that, then I would finally be able to own it. We have to work at it. I got expelled from every school I ever attended, diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia, grew up on food stamps and the whole 9 yards. And there are lots of folks who say, Hasan, well, you know, you should probably leave that stuff out about the GED and about the arrest and about the being expelled because, you know, nobody would ever know that about you and you're so successful now and it just really, you know, it creates questions. And I'm like, well, it should, you know. And the question that I hope it creates is, if these are things that are possible, then who have I been refusing to allow through the door that could do this because I assume things about them? You know, who out there could be the next commissioner or the next secretary or the next governor that I've been self-selecting out for their own good because people like that really can't pull it. And so I try to be unabashed when I let people know that I am a GED student and more.